So this week, Saturday Night Live opened their show with the best endorsement for a Secretary of War I've ever seen.
We're now at war with Venezuela. All you nerds are like, wait, but was there an official declaration of war? Yeah, it's right here. Now, you got questions for me? Fine. Pretend I'm a random fishing boat and fire away.
Is there any truth to the allegations that after an initial strike on a drug smuggling boat, you ordered a second strike to kill the survivors?
First of all, that kind of cruel, heartless act has no place in Operation Kill Everybody.
That's pretty good. You got to give them credit. There you have it. They mocked the Secretary of War for being too warlike. What's next? Complain that the Secretary of Health and Human Services has great abs? See, SNL's take on Pete isn't an insult, especially if you imagine Pete himself is watching it. He'd watch and say, yeah, that's me, so what? How are you gonna make fun of me next? By saying my perfect hair makes orphans cry? That's the thing about being an actual badass. Your critics end up becoming your hype team. They're just confirming the brand. It's like when they called Dick Butkus the dirtiest player in the NFL. There he is. He's like, oh, no wonder no one sent me a birthday card, as he punts a quarterback's severed head into the stands. Look, if the worst thing you can say about a Secretary of War is that you're a scary dude, fine. I mean, it's the same thing we said about this guy. And considering the previous administration's foreign policy clown car, which had all the potency of a Roomba with a dead battery, and the jokesters gave them a pass as well as their invalid boss. Speaking of, what is Joe doing in his free time? The usual.
Summon hope and get back up and remember who in the hell we are. We're the United States of America.
What the did he just say? I mean, it's not, he can't even say the name of the country he led. I need to see this again.
Summon hope and get back up and remember who in the hell we are. We're the United States of America.
All right, America got it. Could be the teleprompter's fault. There was no space between America and got it. So he just read it like this amazing, unbelievable new word. It's kind of funny, but it's also really scary. And it raises a question, where was the bold, edgy comedy when Biden's brain had him wandering around like a lost grandpa in the Amazon? I mean, Biden was a gift to SNL, like a Lamborghini, and they treated that gift like he was a pair of socks. So are you telling me with all those writers, they couldn't write a sketch about a senile president that wanders off into the rainforest and mistakes a howler monkey for Janet Yellen? It practically writes itself, like Joe's signature. But now they got a war secretary whose biggest flaw is too much badassery. The man's job title literally has the word war in it. He's not the secretary of stern letters. But they wanted Stuart Smalley, and Trump gave them Hans and Franz instead. But this sketch reveals the pendulum swing of today's politics. That after Dems spent years decriminalizing everything short of cannibalism, handing out sanctuary to criminals like they were running an Airbnb, eventually you get a Secretary of War whose strongly worded letter comes in the shape of a guided missile. Look, deterrence isn't complicated. Public punishments and public permissiveness are the same concept, just opposite forces. One says, don't even think about it, and the other says, just do it. Sinking fentanyl boats is a message, but so is giving criminal aliens 20 chances to reoffend. And you can almost sympathize with the criminals. They used to think America was fine with drug running, but now you're blowing us up? That's not fair. For years, the Dems treated criminality like it was another lifestyle choice, and now we got a guy who wakes up in the morning thinking, how many narco boats can I vaporize before lunch? And really, there is no harm in bragging about it. In fact, bragging gets the message out. And that message is no más, amigos, which is Spanish for your boat is on fire. And another thing, live from New York, it's Gutfeld.
Now,
Now, to my searing monologue, it is time for...
She's number one at being dumb, the new face of the DNC. Gather round, cause that's our Jazzy.
So, Jazzy's running for Senate.
I'm jumping into the ring. I'm asking for your support to be the next United States Senator from the greatest state of Texas. There are a lot of people that said, you gotta stay in the House. We need our voice. We need you there. And I understand. But what we need is for me to have a bigger voice. Turning Texas blue is what I want to talk to y'all about today. Let me be clear, y'all ain't never tried it the JC way.
Crockett was fired up to tell us she's jumping into the ring after previously saying the gloves are off, which tells us one thing: she doesn't know how boxing works. Now, I know what you're thinking. A Senate run? Is she insane? This is a woman who lied that Lee Zeldin took a donation from Jeffrey Epstein when it was really a doctor named Jeffrey Epstein. This is someone with an alleged work environment so toxic, staffers would rather work for Kamala. And her debut ad was no different. Here's Jazzy using Trump's best insults against her to launch her campaign.
She's definitely a low IQ person.
Crockett. Oh, man, oh, man. Now they're going to rely on Crockett. Crockett's going to bring them back.
Wow. We haven't seen a worse debut since the Titanic. So yeah, my first impression was, does she really think she has a chance of winning statewide in Texas? In politics, there's a real simple rule. You play to your strengths. So a bomb thrower like Jasmine Crockett is made for the House. She only has to appeal to her extreme district. That's why members of the squad do well in the House, and the more bland, seasoned politicians go statewide. So on paper, this looks like a terrible move. But then you realize she could be running for another reason. What's Jasmine's value to the far left? Anyway, it's not her legislative record. Her real value is as a media figure. She says wild things on TV, she goes viral, and we talk about her. She may have the intellect of roadkill, but she's a gift to the social media algorithm. So we have to ask ourselves, is this strategy the politics of the future? For better or for worse? Because even if she loses her race for Senate, it could be a launching pad for her career as a Democrat influencer. And while this strategy may not get you into Mensa, it could get you followers and spread your party's message. Politicians everywhere are already doing it, and some have mastered it. Trump's been building his image through the media forever. It brought his name from a Fifth Avenue skyscraper to the White House. So this strategy works, although some are better than others. Remember when Crockett joined the Dems for the Choose Your Fighter video that went viral for all the wrong reasons? Not all of us can be Trump, but these days media figures, even the ones broadcasting from their bedrooms with a ring light, can have more influence than half the U.S. Senate. So the question isn't, can Crockett win Texas? It is, has Congress turned into a game of winning social media as opposed to a deliberative body that makes laws? And that could be a good thing or bad. We saw the algorithm help Zohran Mamdani go from fake rapper to New York mayor. And what does it look like for the country if the so-called star of the Democratic Party is someone who should be starring in Real Housewives of Atlanta? So I'd encourage Republicans, if she runs, take the win, but don't take the bait. It's easy to get attention, but with Jazzy, it's all about her. President Trump is brash and funny, but he's always been about making our country better and stronger. In other words, with him, it's all about us, and that's no jazz.
He won't be watching. All right, monologue. So the New Yorker just ran a piece this week called How to Leave the USA, focusing on an organization called GTFO, which helps terrified liberals flee Trump's America. And one of the places they're helping people move to, the Netherlands, a place whiter than Brett Baer's teeth. A place so white it makes Dana Perino look like Jasmine Crockett. A place so white it makes Sweden look like the birthplace of hip-hop. Yep, they're fleeing Trump, the man who would be king, for the Netherlands, a place that has a king, Willem-Alexander. The Netherlands, yes, has been a constitutional monarchy since 1814. It even has a coat of arms. But they left all of that out of the article, along with the crowns, the scepters, and of course the incest. Wow. So the big question is, what are these Americans escaping? Because nothing's actually impacting them except their own mental state. The only border crisis they personally experience is the one between reality and Rachel Maddow. These people aren't political refugees. They're running from their own minds. They need a restraining order from themselves. And they're pulling what addicts call a geographic. It's when you think that by moving to a new town, your obsession won't follow. But give a meth head 48 hours in any city, he's going to find a connect. It's like Joy Behar sniffing out truffles. Now they're coming to life.
Really rude to
And with Trump derangement addiction, you can find a headline, an essay, a tweet. Hell, with modern technology, you can still get a steady drip of Joy Reid no matter where you move. So let's take it from the immortal words of Peter Weller.
Remember, no matter where you go, there you are.
It's true. Buckaroo Banzai. Buckaroo Banzai. But it's true, you're still you wherever you are, with the same obsessions, fears, and anxieties. Look at Rosie. 3 words guaranteed to cause erectile dysfunction. She crossed the Atlantic with Captain Ahab in hot pursuit, and she's more miserable than ever. And that's saying something. The last time this broad smiled was when she was in 5th grade when a nun forgot to wear underwear. But Trump lives in her head. So where she goes, so does Trump. He's like a cat in a pet carrier, and that pet carrier is her brain. In this article, one woman claims that the more she read about Trump, the more she foresaw martial law. Another wants to leave Texas because her country music band was, quote, all MAGA now. Honey, that's called living in Texas. That's like going to the BET Awards and wondering why you're the only one in khakis. Now, these Chicken Littles could all just take a break from CNN or MSNBC, but that's too easy. And they're addicts, and they're very dramatic about it, so they must move, and they tell everyone why they're moving. It's all drama-driven hysteria. Because if you're leaving America for no physical reason, there's no violence, no disaster, no danger, then the cause is purely psychological, meaning you're going to bring it with you. Your body gets on the plane, but your brain stays right here soaking in obsession. These people aren't escaping Trump. They're escaping the fantasy of Trump, the version of Trump they built out of headlines, hashtags, and memes. They can pack their bags, but they can't unpack this heavy emotional baggage. The problem isn't America, it's them. But here's what really kills me. There are plenty of places for these people to move in America that are super duper blue, and they're called cities. Deep blue dots on the American map. But that's somehow out of the question. Why? Is it because of the crime, the cost of living, the corruption? Probably. Yet none of that is Trump's fault. It's all due to the beliefs these libs have always supported. Beliefs that they plan on taking to the Netherlands. To which I say, God save the king.